and then click on My Account. This is where you can change your name if you need to. You can update your email address if you need to. Make sure your user role is set as realtor/agent. And then right down here in that personal information section is where you're going to put in your NRDS number, your NRDS ID. That is not your MyBOR number. It's not your license number. It's a completely separate random number, which most people don't know off the top of their heads. That's fine. So later, go ahead and look that up. You can find it either on your Realtor magazine that gets sent to you at the office, or if you just Google NRDS ID, like lookup tool, or NRDS ID Realtor, you'll find that lookup tool, and you can look that up and fill this in, and then make sure you hit save. So again, when you're ready to do that later, you're going to put your mouse over your initials, your picture in the corner, and go to My Accounts, and it's just right here in Account Settings. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to Profiles on the left. If you are someone who has two listings right here under Profiles, like Christy does, we've hijacked her account for today. So if you have two profiles here, one that says default profile maybe, and one that has your name, shoot us a message and let us know, because we're going to have to do one extra step for you, but not many people have had that yet, so hopefully everyone is fine. Going back for a second, when we were just talking about archiving, we get this question a lot, and we just got it right now. Should we archive loops that we're currently working on in DocuSign? Probably why you're seeing that loop is that the other agent is using DOTLOOP, and they shared a document with you, so it's created that loop. You can leave it, or you can archive it if you're not actually working on anything from it. Either way is fine. Okay, so back at our profiles here. What we want you to fill out under profile details is your office ID number. That is your TUC, whatever, TUC 4, TUC 10, TUC 18, that's that number. And then your broker agent ID number, and that is your MyBOR number. So these two fields under profile details are what we want you to fill out. You can fill out your license number if you want, but you don't have to. It doesn't autofill anywhere, and if you don't know your license number, this is not the time to go look it up. Do that later, but right now, just your TUC, whatever, and your MyBOR number. And then we're going to scroll down a little bit to notification settings. This is where we tell the system what you want to be notified about. What you see on my screen is what we suggest for you, because we don't want you to be over-notified where you're either getting frustrated with the amount of emails coming in, or you're missing important notifications because they're buried with all these others, but we do want you to be notified of certain actions. So this is what we recommend. In this top section here, turn off the last two options. And then in this bottom section for email, turn off daily task reminders, the bottom one. Leave the one above it on, and then turn off the next two above that. So your notifications could match what you see on my screen here. And if you want to set them up differently, that's fine. Just then know that this is where you come to adjust them. So if you are getting overwhelmed by emails, you can turn some stuff off. But the ones that we have marked are the really important ones. Go ahead and hit save in the bottom. All right, so everything has been saved there. Just a note to you guys as far as this notifications. Last week, on Monday last week, towards the end of the day, we sent out a really important DOTLOOP email with a bunch of FYIs and tips and things that you need to know for using the system, sort of like to make it smoothest possible for you. And we have a screenshot of this setup in there as well, so if you need to review it later, you can find it there. But if you don't know what email I'm talking about, please check your Tucker email and look for it, because that's where it was sent. It was also linked in the Buzz last week, so you can look for that. But it does have some really important tips for you, so you do want to make sure you read that. All right, we're going to scroll all the way back up to the top, and we need to get back to our landing page, so back to our loops. And there are a couple ways to do that. The first way to get back there is, again, just by clicking that loops icon, that sort of smiley face there. That'll take me back there. Or whenever I see the Tucker logo or the DOTLOOP logo in the top left-hand corner of my screen, I can click on that, and it takes me back to my dashboard. So again, we're on our dashboard reviewing all of our loops. This is where I can archive old loops, test loops, listings that, or offers that didn't go anywhere, any of that. But what we are going to do today is we are going to go through starting a loop. So in the right-hand corner of your screen, click Add Loop. And the first step is to give it a name. You'll notice as you're typing, the system is actually searching, trying to find a match. Any of these, if you find, well, any of these that are a match, I mean, obviously these aren't, they're not our state, but if these did match, whenever you see .loop MLS ID or some other MLS, you do not want to select that. That's going to link your loop to whoever this list agent is, and it's not the end of the world if you do it, but there are some kind of considerations that you need to be aware of when you do that. So we just don't recommend it because it can get kind of sticky. You can link to the wrong transaction, and if that happens, it's linked forever. You're kind of stuck. You're stuck in that other person's loop, even if your deal doesn't go anywhere. So there are just some good reasons not to do it. So we don't recommend it. If you see a match, however, that says Google Maps, let me see if I can get it to trigger. Right here, Google Maps, that is A-OK to link to. You can go ahead and select that match if you want, but you don't have to select any match. So I'm going to go back to my 123 Main Street, and then because this is a test transaction, I'm going to add the word test, just so that my admin know that they don't need to worry about this. So I can just keep on typing, I can ignore any of those matches, and then I hit continue at the bottom of my screen, or you can hit enter on your keyboard. Step 2 is to apply a template, and this is so super important. This is what's going to make the system work the way it should and keep things running smoothly. So make sure you always select a template. When you click that drop down, right now you have 4 options. We are working on adding a residential lease option, so that'll be coming soon. So the first 2 are residential listing and buying, and those are your listing or buying packets. If you think of it like that, it's going to pull over all of the necessary documents you need for a listing or a purchase. It's going to create folders for the steps along the way. It's going to add managers, all of that stuff. The next 2, the blank residential buying and listing, will not pull over any documents. They will just pull over placeholders. So you can use those loops if you have paper documents that you had signed, like hard copies. You can use that blank buying or blank listing loop and use those placeholders to drop your hard copies in once you scan them. So it still kind of serves as a digital checklist. It just doesn't pull over any actual documents. We're going to go ahead and do a test listing. So we're going to use the residential listing loop. So I click on that and hit continue. You can upload a photo if you have one. You can also always do that later. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit done. And we give it a second. And our loop has been created. So from here, I want to go into the loop. I can simply click View Loop, or I can click on the address in that box. So either way, I'm going to click into it. And now I'm in the loop. If you think of this like a binder where different tabs or different sections within the binder are these folders here. We do have a couple changes that are going to be coming to this template, so be on the lookout for those. Shortly, this amendments folder is going to be moved all the way down to the bottom of your screen so that it will not be the first thing you see, and we're pulling out the mutual release. So you will not have that there automatically. All of these folders, if you click on the folder name, you can collapse it so you don't have to see what's in it. And then if I hover over any of the documents, if I click on it, that will open it. These are all interactive documents. With the exception of any of these light gray spots, it's kind of hard to see on my computer screen, but if you're following along, you can probably tell on your screen. So this, for example, is a placeholder. We didn't upload an actual document because you don't have the BLC sheet yet, but you or your staff will add that. once you do, so that's a placeholder. I can also make new folders, so if I get multiple offers on this property, or if I want to make a folder that is for all my covenants and restrictions, I can do that. I just click Add Folder. I'm going to erase the text that says New Folder and give it a new name. So I just made a new folder. We're going to go ahead and open a document. So scroll down to your listing contract and click on it to open it. The first screen you see is an autofill screen, and this is where we're either going to tell the system some details about our transaction, or we're just going to verify them if we've already done this. So we'll start with the easy one. The managing broker, that should say, you know, Carmel managers, Keystone managers, whoever your managers are. If it doesn't, you can click on it and assign it to them. The listing agent, that's you, so click on Select Person and select yourself. And then our sellers. So who is my seller one? I click Select Person, and they're not listed. I have to tell the system who my seller one is, so I click Add Person. And I fill in my seller name and email address. That's it. That's all I have to do. They're already assigned the role of seller because of how I already went to seller one and said add person. What you do not want to do is select this add to my team. What that does is it adds this person to your room, to your team, sorry, to your loop. I got to get used to that, to your loop, but where they can see every single thing in it, all the documents, all the notes, all the folders, everything. So you do not want to use that for clients. The only time you might use that is if you are a team member and your team lead wants to see the loop as if it was their own. Then you might use that. The other thing you do not want to check is down here, send intro email. There's just no need. That just sends a welcome email to your person, kind of saying, thanks for using DOTLOOP. If you want to create an account, you can do so here. And that's just, they don't need to be bothered with that. Your client doesn't need to be bothered with that. So don't check either of those boxes. Just name and email address, and then hit Add Person. If I had a second seller, I could go ahead and add them here. I do not in this case. So I'm going to scroll down to property address. Sometimes this is already filled out, depending on if you did that Google match or not. But I'm going to click in here and fill it out. So street number is separate from the street name. That's been the hardest thing for me to get used to. Actually, I think this was Main Street, wasn't it? We'll see. So I can add in any additional information, but I don't have to. This autofill page is going to talk to my document, and my document is going to talk back. So as I start filling out some of this on the listing contract itself, the list date, for example, will fill in on this box so that next time I see it, it will be here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit autofill. When I do that, you can see the fields. It's even telling me 3 roles have been assigned, 14 fields have been autofilled. So it put in agent name, client name, address, all of that. Now, if you X'd out of that autofill box a little too quickly, if you didn't get anything to autofill, no problem. You can just go through and fill it out by hand. Or if you want to get that box back, just click on autofill up here in this black bar, and it'll pop that box back up. And then I could go ahead and do what we just did. I went ahead and closed that box because our autofill, we did use it, we're good to go. So then I'm going to go through the contract and fill it out like normal. We are working on text wrapping in the system, so the places where it's active already, this is what you'll see when you click into a field that needs to text wrap. So when I do that, I click Edit Text. I put my big, long legal description and save. That wasn't even long enough to bump it down to the next line, but it does. Anywhere you have a date field, like your listing dates, you'll typically see a calendar icon, so I can click in there and select my date. So maybe we're going live next week. Here's my expiration. and so on. I go through filling it out. You'll see at the bottom of page 1, at the bottom of all the pages, it has dropped in initials for my seller, and it's ready for me to initial as well. So George Clooney was my seller, so it says GC. Those are not his initials. It's just showing me where he's going to have an action. Now, over here for the listing agent, I am the listing agent. I'm in my account. Everything is kind of matching up behind the scenes, so that lets me go ahead and click on it as the listing agent and say sign now. I can change my signature or my initials if I need to, or I can draw it, and I click adopt and sign, and my initials as the listing agent have been placed. So I'm going to go through filling out my contract. A couple things that you can and cannot do on this document, or most of them, but this one particularly. I can add additional signature boxes and additional initial boxes. So if I have a seller 3 or 4, I can just go right up here under add and add initials or add signature. So when I do that, whenever I drop a box, it's going to want me to assign the field. So I click assign field, that drop down in the left-hand corner opens up, and then I can assign it to someone that's already in my list, or I can go ahead and say add person and add my seller number 3. I'm going to remove this initial box because we don't need it. So with it selected, I just hit this X. So I can add initials and signatures. I can also add a strike through. I don't know why you would add a strike through over the home warranty, but just in case, I went to add strike through up at the top, and now I drop it where I want it to go. And if I go to the far right-hand side of it, my mouse switches that kind of diagonal arrow, and that lets me click and drag to move it as big or as little as I need it to be. What I cannot add to this document, however, is a text box. We don't want you having to be in a position with a client who's saying, oh, why don't you add a text box here that says such and such? Nope, this is a very important legal document, so no adding of bonus text when it's not already there. So what that means is you're going to be using further conditions for things like if you're changing the professional service fee instead of 7%, if you're doing 6.5%, or if you're doing something weird in there about seller agrees to allow listing agent to have one open house a month that you want in writing, you could put that here. So you're going to use further conditions for that. So you can put the change to the BAC, or well, to the co-op if it's over 300, but change what professional service fee is here. You would just add a line that says professional service fee to be 6.5%, for example. But don't do that. Don't discount yourself. All right, we fill out, all is good, and then at the bottom here of page 7, you can see where it's ready for George, my client, to sign. Managing broker is already there, and then I, as a listing agent, can go ahead and click and sign now. Super easy. All right, I'm going to pause for some questions that have come in. I think we've answered most of them individually, but let's address some of these as a group. So how do you correct a person if you've selected the wrong role? I can go to my autofill and change it there. So if managing broker here, I accidentally selected myself, I can go ahead and change it back to my managers. Or I can click into a box that's been assigned to someone, and where it says assigned to George Clooney on the left, I can click in there and assign it to someone else. We talked about multiple buyers and sellers. You just drop additional signature boxes and initial boxes where they're needed. And as far as signing goes, you as the list agent can sign at any point. So you'll see that I signed as Christy here, and I can still go ahead and mark. Certain things it'll let me keep editing. let's test one thing. So I initialed. Okay, so it didn't like that I had signed and then tried to change something. I can initial the whole document and make changes per year, and it's fine with that. It's only after I sign that then if I try and change something, it's going to take away my signature. If my client had signed, it's also going to take their signature away, and that's normal. You don't want to be able to have someone sign a document and then have it modified. So I went through and initialed, and then I could still fill out the document. So just don't sign it yourself until you're completely done. Okay. I think that catches us up with some of the good group questions, and keep these questions coming. You guys are asking some great questions. Okay, so I'll go ahead and sign again. So my document is done. Really, really important, I need to be saving along the way. This does not auto-save, and so up here in this black menu bar, I can go ahead and just hit save, and I can do that as often as I want. And now once the document's done and I'm ready to share it with my client and or my managing broker for signatures, oops, I should remove this, we don't need that. Well, okay, we'll just leave it then. So once I'm ready to share it with others to get signatures, I'm going to use this orange share button in the top right-hand corner. So when I do that, I hit share, and the system checks everyone that it assumes I want to send to because they have an action. So it has selected George, who has 9 fields assigned, because of course he needs to fill those out. Same thing with the managers, they have 1 field assigned, so they've already selected these people. If I did not want to send to someone right now, if I didn't want to send to the managers for some reason, I can uncheck them. If I need to add someone else, so say George's mom needs to review this document, I can go ahead and add a person down here. Put their name and email in, and for role, I'm going to select other. So next to each person, you'll see they also have a permission level. So George's is set on can sign, because that's what he needs to do. Signing and initialing, it's the same thing. George's mom was automatically added as view only because there are no fields assigned to her, so there's nothing for her to sign. But my options for that permission are view only, so it's exactly what it sounds like. That's what you're going to use if you share with another agent when submitting an offer. If you share with your lender or with the title company, all of those are going to be view only. Can sign, again, what it sounds like, that they can sign or initial fields. Can fill and sign is what you're going to use for a document like the seller's disclosure or the utility information sheet, and that allows them to fill out boxes. And then can edit in private is kind of a scary one that really you're not going to use because it lets the recipient make changes to the entire document. Now, if they did that and the document was signed, it would remove the signatures, so you don't have to worry about someone tinkering with your document and getting away with it, but it can cause some hassles, so just don't use edit in private. Okay, so we have selected who we want to send this to, and then you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this option to attach PDF to email. This is great if you're sending it as view only, so like to the other agents. Go ahead and check that box that says attach PDF to email in that case, because you don't know what system they're using. It's just kind of the polite thing to do. You're providing them the link from DOTLOOP to view it, but you're also sending it as an attachment. Now, when you're sending for signatures, we do not recommend you use that attached PDF to email, just because clients will oftentimes see there's an attachment, they'll go ahead and click and open it, and then they'll wonder why they can't sign. And it's because what they opened was the PDF attachment. It's not the interactive document. So when you're sending for signatures, do not use the attached to PDF, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit share. And it now says your document has been shared. I can say done. And I'm going to back out of the document. So I'm just up here hitting that little back arrow. So back on my DOTLOOP screen, you can see that document we filled out now says waiting on others, so I can see kind of where it stands in the process. If my client says, oh, I didn't get an email asking for my signature, or I deleted it, or whatever the case is, I can reshare it with them. So to do that, you act like you're going to share it. When I'm on this screen with viewing all my documents, to share, all I have to do is put my mouse over the document line and share becomes an option. So I don't have to be in the document. So I'm going to click share right here. And under who has access, I can reshare and more options. George needs it, and I can reshare. I can also change his permission here. So if I sent a seller's disclosure, for example, as can sign, and I should have sent it as fill and sign, I can go ahead and change that here. If I need to update that contract, maybe I put the wrong price in or I caught a mistake, whatever it is, I can go ahead and open this document and do that. The link that they got the first time should take them to the revised contract. It takes a little bit of time to update, so it's not a bad idea to go ahead and share with them again, so it triggers a second link, and either link at that point works. So you can make a correction there and then share again. So back in my email as the client, this is what the client gets. This email that says, please review the FC Tucker listing contract, or it would say the other documents. So a heads up here, the client can see the loop name. So be careful, no passive aggressiveness here. Do not name your loop something like house they cannot afford, because they're going to see that. So don't do that, or at least be passive aggressive carefully. So as a client, I'm going to click on view document. And then I click Start Signing. And it's going to drop me right to where my next spot is. I can change my name. So if I'm actually George Clooney III, I can add that. I can draw my signature, hit Adopt and Sign. And then I just go through the document, clicking and signing. Okay. So then when I'm done, I hit I'm done. Oh, but oops. The system even warned me that I skipped 2 spots. So I can say, yes, go ahead and show me. And there's that signature box that I didn't remove earlier, and then initials. So now that I've actually signed everything, where it said I'm done up here, that's changed to say finish signing. So your client needs to click that, and it even says you're almost done. Click finish to send the completed document back to the sender. So I hit finish signing, and I'm done. It's pretty clear I'm done. They get this box that says so. And then they're prompted if they want to create a free account. So that is something you want to address with their client up front, let them know that they're going to get prompted to do this, that they not only do not have to do it, but there's really no need to, no reason. We don't want to put that burden on them of having to remember another login. So they can just close that box, and that's it. They do get an email back that says you completed a document, and so they can review it again, always there, and then hopefully you are also giving them copies of those signed documents later. All right, so back in my DOTLOOP, I'm going to refresh my screen because it says waiting on others, but actually everyone has now signed, so it says signed. See where it's changed right here. Also, what it's done behind the scenes is, if you remember from DocuSign, once a document was signed, you would have your original, and then you'd have a certification, and then you'd have the signed copy. And if you had to make a correction and send it out again, then you'd have another signed copy, and they would just kind of start exploding. So with DOTLOOP, you'll only see that one version, but all the others are kind of layered behind the scenes. They're just hidden automatically. So if I want to see those previous versions, I can absolutely do that. I just put my mouse over the line for that document, click on these 3 dots, and select History. So this lets me check out previous versions. So version 1 was my original one. Version 2, I made some edits and I signed. Version 3, because I made some more edits. and so on. So I can always view one of those previous versions if I need to see either what I had before or if something went wrong. I can check like the most recent one to see if everything looks right there and maybe download it and upload that back into my loop. So that's the document history. So let's look at these documents are already in here, but what if we need other documents or new documents? So there are a couple ways to add a document. When you go to add a document, the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, where does it need to go? Or what part of the transaction am I in? So if I have a purchase agreement that someone, well, actually, no, let's go back a step. I'm going to go here to my listing documents folder, and I need to add like a bill of sale or an as-is addendum. So that's a listing document. So along the line with that folder name, I hit Add Document, and I have three options. The first one is from Templates, and this is going to add a new interactive document. The folders or the libraries you're going to be using most of the time are the FC Tucker Forms library, and these are the Tucker-specific forms. So our new listing information sheet, our listing contract. There's that bill of sale. So I can check a document and then hit copy to add it. The other libraries you're going to be using are the Indiana IAR residential documents or the Indiana Association of Realtors interactive documents. That big long one is every state document, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, whatever. But otherwise, that IAR residential or just residential docs. So if I need a new counteroffer, I'd get that there. I select my document, click copy, and it's been added to my loop. So that's method number one of adding a document from those interactive templates or the interactive libraries. Option number two is browsing from my computer. So if I have an offer that came into me through my email, I can save that offer to my computer, and then I hit browse. I navigate to where I have that saved. We'll pretend it's this one. Actually, I think I might have a test right here. Yeah. So I did a browse from my computer and uploaded it. And there it is. The third method is via email. So if I click email, what I get is this crazy long email address. All I have to do is hit copy to clipboard, and it's been copied. And then I go to my email. Whoops. I find that offer. That someone sent me, and I hit forward, and in the to line, I paste. I can either do a right click and paste, or on my keyboard, I press Control V. But I paste that address in, and I hit send. I'm not going to do that because that's someone's actual document. But when I do that, it's going not just to this loop, but to this folder. So it's super convenient. Now, if you put something in the wrong folder, you'll see when I uploaded that purchase agreement, I was actually in my listing documents folder. That needs to go in my purchase documents folder. So to move it, I just put my mouse in the white space for it, click and hold, and I'm going to drag it down to my pending documents folder, and I can just drop it in there. And now it's in the folder, the right folder. So that's adding documents. I can also archive documents that I don't need. So for example, I put that purchase agreement in here, but I also have a placeholder for it. So I don't need to see this placeholder anymore. I go to those three dots on the right, click on it, and archive. And it's gone. Up here in my listing documents folder, maybe I don't need the lead-based paint disclosure or booklet. So I can select multiple documents, and whenever I do that, if I scroll back up to my screen, these options up here that are at the top of your page are going to apply for everything you've checked below. So I could hit share to share both of those. I can print both of those. I can open both of those, or I can go ahead and archive both of those at once. So I clicked archive, and you'll see I even have this confirmation at the top that 2 documents were archived. Now, if I archive something I actually need, no problem. Back up at the top of my screen, I hit Show Archived, and it'll show me everything I've archived, and I can select to unarchive it again. Just like with DocuSign or any good transaction management system, I cannot permanently delete any of my documents or delete an entire loop. That's just for your own safety. So the document is there somewhere. It's just a matter of sometimes finding it. All right. So when I'm ready to get these documents to my staff, I scroll up to the top of the page. I hit Submit for Review. And then I tell the system what section of that binder I'm submitting to my staff. So I'm going to submit my listing documents and my new listing information sheet, for example. I'm going to include helpful notes because that's going to make my staff love me. So for example, going live next Monday. Or please wait for photos to go live. Earnest money is in courier, anything like that. Now you'll notice when I selected these, to the right, it shows that it is a listing. That's the type of folder it is, and these are all already set automatically. But if you make your own new folder, it doesn't have a type. So if I was trying to get this folder to my staff, I would just have to go to Select Type and select the type. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's either listing, pending, closing, or it's additional paperwork, like an amendment or something like that. So I select the folders that need to go to staff, I hit Submit, and they now have it. I can see here where it says Submitted to LC. I can see where it says Submitted next to a document. And what the system did is it only submitted to staff a document that either, well, basically a document that had been modified. So this document has signatures on it, so it had been modified. If I had opened up that bill of sale and auto-filled the address on it, even if it didn't have signatures, it would get submitted to staff because it has been modified. This system doesn't know if it needs signatures or not to be complete. It just knows it's been modified, and that means your staff probably needs it. So now both of those say submitted. I went and submitted that folder again. So that's nice because staff doesn't have to open every single document. So that means on your end as the agent, I could select this whole folder and open all of it, but if I don't need some of these, then I'm not going to open them, because that's, again, what triggers my staff to have to view them as well. So just open and fill out the things that you need. After your staff reviews a document, they will approve it or return it. They will send you a note when they return it, or they'll send you a note when they return the whole room that says what you're missing or what was wrong. So look for those. You're going to get those via email. You'll also see those notes come through right up here at the top of your loop, that little text message looking icon. Those are notes. So here's the note that I sent in, for example, and my staff would send me one back saying you're live maybe, or you're missing stuff. This is my notifications icon at the top. It's just kind of alerting me of what's been going on. So I have one notification saying that George signed a document. Cool, we're good. So at this point, ball's in hands of my staff, and then they'll approve the folder and approve the room or the loop, or they will return it to me if needed. If I hit back to my loops, I can see all of my loops again. And I can click to go back into one we were just working on. Make sense? Do you guys have any questions about submitting to staff? No? Okay. And yeah, at this point, George owns 85 homes because he's always my test. So I know a lot of you have been through training with us before. I like to buy and sell lots of homes with George Clooney here. So remember, when you're working with one of these interactive documents, most of the time you shouldn't have to add any signatures or initials or anything. On a PDF, you will. So I can open a PDF and drop my boxes for signatures wherever they're needed, drop initials, and then share with my people from there. can also, with the PDF, split a PDF. It's not quite as smooth as it was in DocuSign, but we're kind of explaining to them how ideally it would work better. So maybe we'll see some progress there. You can also rotate a document or rotate a page within a document, which is a nice feature. So you can look for that. Oh, I think probably last but not least, editing a person. This is on your cheat sheet handout that's included with the webinar, and I'll also be emailed to you tomorrow. So if you discover you typed someone's name wrong, or the wrong email address was given to you, or you typed it wrong, whatever the situation is, no problem. In my loop, I scroll down into my people section, and then George here, if that was the wrong email address, I click on those 3 little dots next to his name and hit edit, and I can change that now. But oops, that wasn't supposed to be a Talk to Tucker. That was supposed to be Gmail. Okay. So nice and easy to make changes to your people. That is the system, kind of the overview of it. A couple other little just FYIs. Tagging, we mentioned that earlier at the beginning when setting notifications. Your staff, in addition to sending you messages, they are going to leave what are called tags, and they show up right here in this white space. And it's how they communicate to each other, but also a little bit towards you. So they might add a tag to a document, and a tag is basically like a Post-it note that says missing docs. And it's their way of knowing that that file is missing docs without having to open it and like look at everything again. But that's also kind of a heads up to you that something's missing. They're going to add a tag probably with your name, the BLC number, notes about if earnest money is on the way, when it's going live, things like that. So don't be alarmed when you see those appear. You should never, ever, ever have to add staff to a transaction. Even though you don't see them here in the people, they are there. You hopefully should never have to add the managers to your transaction either. You'll notice, so for this loop of Christie's, Christie's out of the Keystone office, so we don't see the individual managers, but what we do see is this generic manager account, and you have that for your office as well, and that's what you want to be using. So I don't need to add a specific manager to send them something. I send them documents to this generic account. It goes to all of the managers so that whoever can get to it first to sign or to review can do so. So don't add individual managers. And you hopefully shouldn't have to add this generic account either. That should be there automatically, but just in case. Our best advice to you as far as learning the system, you are already well on your way just by attending this webinar, so props to you. But get in there and play with it. Do some test transactions. Remember, whenever you're doing a test transaction, to include the word test in the name so that it's clear to your staff. And as you're adding fake people to the transaction, if you want to just add yourself as a client, that's fine, but give yourself as a client a slightly different name, because otherwise it can be confusing when you see like Christy sign here, Christy sign here. You're trying to figure out why it's you in both spots, because one of you is the seller. But then also use a different email address so that you can see what notifications come in as a client versus as the agent. As far as support goes, if I scroll down to the bottom of my page in a loop, I have the DOTLOOP phone number right here, 1-888-DOTLOOP. Their email is, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it, Premium support, thank you. Premiumsupport@dotloop.com. But what I have found to be the most beneficial is this help center. So I can find the help center either from within a loop, I scroll to the very bottom of it, or if I'm on my dashboard with all my loops, when I click on my initials in the top right-hand corner, there's the help center. But this help center is awesome, you guys, so check it out. You can search for a topic. They're posting about webinars that they are doing that if you want to attend. You can just go into a whole section for agents and click in there and then hear different topics, and they have text-based articles, they have videos. It's been really great, so I really encourage you to check out this built-in help, okay? It's the support center or the help section. But otherwise, get in there, get your hands dirty, have some fun playing around with it. And if you come across any weirdness, like earlier today, the managers were not being tagged automatically. I think we got that fixed. If anything weird like that, let us know. And then reach out to DOTLOOP with any other help or support that you need. They are there for you. And go ahead and have fun, get loopy. Let us know if you have questions. Thank you for attending today, and you will get a follow-up email with this recording in it. I believe it goes out tomorrow, so if you want to rewatch it, you can. So thank you for coming out this afternoon, you guys. I hope this was helpful, and hopefully you're ready to start using DOTLOOP. All right. Have a good one.